This is a moment where one could say they can be left speechless. Conor McGregor got knocked out against Dustin, the Diamond Poirier, in the second round in a very competitive fight in which we both saw Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier compete in a pretty boxing-oriented contest. Conor McGregor more so than ever before, actually, if you really take a comparison of all of his fights that he has had. Now, all of the training footage that we have seen over the years with him, kind of hunched over, high guard, close-up boxing range, all of that we saw in those clips, we got to see tonight. And especially in the close range and being able to quickly counter and pop into the right hands and things of that nature, follow it up through with the left hand, we definitely saw some improvement from Conor McGregor. The reality is that by abandoning the tools that helped him win in the first fight, which was able to keep Dustin Poirier at a long range with his kicks, keep him guessing, and really try and go in there and sting Dustin Poirier effectively, you could really see that right now there was a big difference in the way that Dustin Poirier was able to handle the power. You could definitely see that in the ring, Dustin Poirier was a heavier fighter. He was able to absorb these shots, especially in the first round when Conor McGregor was able to slip in a lot of good shots. It was just that Dustin Poirier was able to brace himself correctly and take those shots. When it comes to Conor McGregor, he was able to, work off of the takedown, get back up, turn Dustin over, throw in some good shoulders and things of that nature, and continue on connecting with good jabs and slip uppercuts. These things connected. Conor definitely had great moments in this fight, but the consistent attribute and the fact that really played a big factor in this one were the leg kicks that Dustin Poirier was throwing. Before the fight, I talked about how Dustin Poirier needs to throw these leg kicks, especially when he's being backed up, to really take away the pressure of Conor McGregor. Now, at the same time, I also said that Conor McGregor can use his leg kicks effectively to create pressure. It was just, out of the two fighters, Conor McGregor was a lot more boxing-oriented, whereas Dustin Poirier was a lot more MMA-oriented, and he was able to mix everything up and do his thing correctly. If I have to really look at both fighters, I think Conor McGregor kind of really committed a bit too much on just setting up a lot of things with his boxing. Conor has a great arsenal of kicks. I think that was really what helped him a lot. For him to abandon that, especially, for example, in the first round, he threw a big spinning kick, and that was quick, that was fast, and that created a lot of distance. I wish he really relied on that a little bit more in this fight. Maybe perhaps spinning back kicks to the body, head kicks a little bit more. He threw them, you know what I mean? Conor threw these shots, created a lot of distance, and broke a lot of patterns because, like I said, Conor McGregor is a great one-punch hitter. He's he throws one good shot at a time, takes his time, breaks you down. Dustin Poirier, he likes to just add up these shots, work in the pocket, just roll with the shots, add some steam. This is what Dustin Poirier likes to do. And the more Conor McGregor was hunched over and in the pocket and in his face, the more it suited Dustin Poirier. Yes, even though Dustin Poirier was getting hit, but Dustin Poirier was able to take these shots. And Conor wasn't really throwing shots that would immediately go in there and just spark you out. The way Conor knocks people out is momentum, accuracy, the right opening, and just slipping it in at the right time when the opponent doesn't expect it. That is when Conor McGregor is able to get these shots. When Conor McGregor is loading up on shots and throwing them, you can see it come, you can brace yourself. Dustin Poirier being heavier, all of these factors resulted in Dustin Poirier being able to take these shots. And for Conor McGregor to continue on fighting in that manner, even though he was getting leg kicked quite often, you could immediately see that the mind of Conor McGregor, which was in the opening of the fight, immediately come forward and pressure and hit with the boxing stuff. You can immediately see that the mind was taken away by the leg kicks. He was trying to catch these leg kicks. He was able to catch these leg kicks so often. He was able to pick him up, drag Dustin Poirier across the cage, throw an elbow, throw a head kick. In this matchup, Conor McGregor had an answer for everything. However, the one nagging pain that remained were those leg kicks, and at some point in the second round, just one leg kick were just too many, and it took away Conor McGregor's mobility. It made him stationary, and guess what? Being stationary means that Dustin Poirier can close in the range, get in the pocket, and start throwing boxing stuff in the close range. And Conor McGregor is not the type of fighter that is pretty good at exchanging punches. Nate Diaz proved it in the second fight, where he was able to come forward, get in the range, in the pocket, and start changing. Conor will just rely on defense a lot more. You're not going to see a big shoulder roll uppercut from Conor McGregor that can knock out anybody. You're not going to see that. You are going to see that with Dustin Poirier. We've seen it time in and time out against Justin Gaethje, Dan Hooker, Anthony Pettis. All of these fights, we have all seen that. You know what I mean? So for Conor McGregor to kind of fight in a manner that is not an expertise or an area where he has a lot of hours in, was not, in my opinion, the correct mindset to go into the fight with. I believe that a more long-ranged fight would have suited him. He was pressuring greatly. He was doing his job correctly, but I believe he was doing a bit too much. And I felt like if he were able to pump the brakes a little bit and let Dustin Poirier try and come into his own range, he would have been able to pop shot him, a lot more. Or perhaps you could have seen those leg kicks coming a little bit more as well. And that is exactly where Dustin Poirier is able to shine. When these fights get to into a situational like groove where it's flowing, Dustin is one of the best flowers in the game. So it is no surprise that Conor McGregor got caught with a big left hand and then a right hand that dropped him and then got finished with on the mat. It is no surprise that these things happen. And it is not a surprise to me when Conor McGregor got dropped. I saw it coming. It was all adding up. The leg kicks were adding up. The pressure was adding up from Dustin Poirier as well. And for example, when I talked about Conor McGregor and his defense, I talked about Conor McGregor's offense being his best defense. Like I said, Conor McGregor is a pop shotter. He doesn't really like to roll with the shots, do those things. Dustin Poirier does like that. So when I talked about Dustin Poirier having better defense, it was pretty much clear that he was able to use all of the entire MMA skills to good use. You know what I mean? Defensively grappling, defensively moving on the back foot, not getting set up with the big left hand, and not committing too much on shots. We're not giving Conor McGregor a lot of tools to work with and a lot of stuff to work with. Conor can try and force his way in, and by trying to force his way in, you can see that Conor can get overzealous and just commit a bit too much. The same thing happened against Khabib Nurmagomedov. He was trying to immediately go for the leg kick, for the Superman punch, for the flying knee. He was trying to go for these things right away, and it doesn't really make sense for a counterpuncher who is aggressive to be over-aggressive and not counterpunch. So, in my opinion, going into a rematch, I hope there will be another fight, because you're not going to make a bigger fight in lightweight division than this fight at this current moment. It's not going to happen. This fight has to get rebooked, and it has to happen pretty quick. And I think kind of the way that Conor McGregor wanted his 2021 season to go, I believe even though he lost his fight, he's going to have a quick turnaround fight, and he's going to get his fight right away. So in the end, I believe it kind of worked out great for Conor McGregor, because he's going to get that rematch right away. So and from there on, he can get another fight, and that's already 3 fights in 2021. So the year it started off wrong for Conor McGregor, but it doesn't mean that it can end poorly. Now, I will have to say this. Going into a rematch, if Conor McGregor comes in like he did today, I think he's going to lose once again, because he's not going to come in and force his way into a knockout. It's not going to happen. He's never really forced a true knockout out of anybody. So it's not going to happen today, especially when Dustin Poirier has gotten bulkier and better chinned over the years. These guys are not at featherweight anymore. They're not as trimmed to the bone anymore. These guys are solid competitors. Conor McGregor came in very fit. In the second round, he looked good, but those leg kicks were the problem, right? Conor McGregor stuck in the pocket a bit too much. He got clipped with the check hooks, and on the outside, he was a bit too, blocky stanced. He was not sideways and kind of expanding the range. He was not doing any of that. So he's getting leg kicked as well. So in the pocket, he's getting check hooked, and on the outside, he's getting leg kicked. And even though he had his pop shots, the pop shots didn't really hurt Dustin Poirier to an extent where he could go in there and finish the fight. So I hope we can get the rematch right away. It was a great performance by Dustin Poirier, the biggest win of his career. Congratulations, Dustin Poirier. A tremendous job on the fight. Great respect shown after the fight as well. And I hope we can get to see it again. Because if we have seen one thing out of Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier, it is just the ability to learn. Perhaps Conor McGregor got a little bit too much into the learning of just traditional boxing that he kind of forgot that what really got him those 5 sheet setups were those leg kicks that initiated the opponent to back up against the fence, be cornered, and things of that nature. Plenty of times in a fight, I have seen openings for a teep kick or a side kick to the knee or things of that nature. I've seen those openings. Connor's, perhaps he's seen that too, but, who am I to say that? At the end of the day, this was a great fight, and I'm happy that we can start off the year with a great pay-per-view like this one. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave in the comment section down below what you thought of this fight. And as always, in the end, time will tell the truth. As always, I've been Keenan from Keenan KTV, signing off. Later.